Halo Infinite Season 2 has left me with a hell of a lot of mixed feelings, to say the very least. I love Halo Infinite at its core, but right now it certainly does feel as if 343 is purposefully trying to kill the game, especially with their current treatment of PC users, let alone the horrible balancing decisions currently being made, which I pray they revert. Almost all of the content added could be superb, however it unfortunately gets heavily hindered by beyond questionable decisions on the part of the developers here. Now I'm sure you will want to know first and foremost what's good about Season 2. Almost everything in my opinion in terms of the new content is great. The new maps are not only beautiful to look at in terms of aesthetics, but are also simply sublime to play on. Catalyst is my personal favourite of the two, obviously. I mean, just look at it. There is so much depth to this map that it fits perfectly into both casual playlists and competitive modes. Out of all the maps in Halo Infinite, this is probably my favourite one so far, simply because King of the Hill pretty much only functions in a decent manner on this map, thanks to how 343 has made changes, but we'll get into that later. Breaker is good, but nothing amazing in all honesty. The best way I can describe it is that it serves its purpose, although from what I've played of it, the map has definitely been held back by the new last man standing modes, zone failing to activate until around 6 people are left alive. And when playing on Breaker for big team battle mode, you can blatantly understand the map was not designed for it. It was designed for last man standing, although as I said earlier, it is still a great map for both last man standing and big team battle mode. It's just underwhelming in comparison to a map as good as Catalyst and compared to the other big team battle maps. And although it seems like at times 343 doesn't care about its communities, the developers behind Raid Shadow Legends, today's sponsor, certainly do. With its console level experience on a phone and 600 champions available for you to unlock, there's no end of content here. And out of all the champions, my personal favourites are the Royal Guard, who is brilliant at taking down bosses thanks to his powerful ability, which scales his damage based on enemies' max HP. And my second favourite is definitely Necrot the Grey, who is a versatile fighter due to the passive shield buff he can place onto his allies whenever they get attacked. Raid just celebrated its 3-year anniversary and it was huge, and there's no sign of them slowing down. Right now, they've got a bunch of special events and tournaments with some of Raid's best ever prizes on offer, including badass champions, piles and piles of shards, and tons of other goods. And specifically for this month, there's a ton happening in Raid. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, you'll get a free starter pack worth almost $40, which will allow you to unlock 3 free champions at once: Misericord, Tigersol, Romero, plus 10 Magic XP brews, 10 Force XP brews, and 10 Spirit brews. A deal you should not miss out on, as they only gave one champion in the past, and you'll be able to find these items inside your inbox after using the link in the description or the QR code on screen. And frankly, this is clearly a great deal for any new player who wants to start getting into Raid. As I said earlier, there is no better time to get into the game than right now, and with the sponsor out of the way, I'll let the rest of the video play. The map design here is the absolute best of the best, but in no way, shape or form does Catalyst being such a flat out fantastic map defend the fact we only got 2 new maps for Season 2. That's a ridiculously low number, and frankly, even with the high quality maps added, there's no reason for them not being able to pump out more per season, especially when so far they've been 6 months long. However, the battle pass is unsurprisingly the best part of Season 2. The armor looks incredibly good, and I personally cannot wait to max out the battle pass, even though I've seen a few people complain about how the rewards for tier 100 are simply shoulder plates, but personally I don't mind it at all, so long as the rest of the tiers are good, and they are. Plus the shoulder plates look awesome regardless, and I definitely cannot wait for the next Fracture event, because just looking at the armor core, you know it's going to look fire. Also, the addition of credits to the battle pass is something I personally talked about, how they should add them in my review for Halo Infinite's launch, and frankly this is exactly how I wanted them to implement them. Just like Fortnite and most other free-to-play titles, they give you enough credits in Season 2's battle pass to buy the next season's battle pass. That is the perfect amount for me as a player when balanced alongside the needs of a business, who contrary to many in the Halo community's belief do in fact still need to make money. The first store for the season has also had me spending the most amount of money on Halo Infinite at once, because frankly these bundles are, in my opinion, definitely worth the money, and it seems like good storefronts in Season 2 will continue to happen, as Week 2's store is also a massive improvement over Season 1, and although I've seen a lot of people call the black and gold skin bundle a reselling of the Rockstar coating, I frankly don't care, because in the UK and basically anywhere outside the US, you cannot get those Rockstar skins without going through the typical terrible third-party sites where you'll probably end up scammed. And it also negates the whole FOMO thing that the Halo community really loves to hate 343 for, from what I've seen, even though it's a necessary evil of any video game. If you are looking for a brilliant part of Halo Infinite Season 2, then all you need to do is go look at the new Rumble Pit mode. Put it this way, this is the closest you'll get to the social feel people love about the older Halo games, and I hope 343 implements even more stuff like this, because it's the best part of Halo and we need more of this. Although please just let us queue up with friends in these modes. I understand the fear of teaming happening, but in the vast majority of cases people will simply be wanting to fight against their friends in these public lobbies and not team up, especially because this isn't ranked. The only time I've seen teaming being a major problem for video games is in ranked modes, since people obviously want to be carried to higher ranks. That does not apply here, and it also doesn't apply to Last Man Standing, which would be a fantastic mode if it weren't for an accumulation of small gripes I have with the mode that will add up to the point of me frankly hating it at the moment. There's first of all no radar, a decision I can't quite wrap my head around considering how large the map is, and the fact the zone doesn't shrink nearly as fast as it should, making it near impossible to find other players to kill at times. The zone should at least start coming in at around 45 seconds and gradually decrease the size of the map until hitting the final zone size from that point onwards. The whole reason zoning works in games like Apex and Fortnite is because they serve as a means to create more action and more adrenaline for the player. But here 343 has made a poor decision, which creates this problem where it does nothing due to it only starting to shrink when there's around 4 to 6 players left alive. And on top of this, they seem to have a total misunderstanding of what makes gun games so great, whilst evidently attempting to combine both gun game and battle royale into this miniature version. The reasoning behind gun game being so awesome in games like Call of Duty is thanks to how they take full advantage of the weapon sandbox. That's unfortunately something missing from Last Man Standing. Only 7 weapons are used here, and they're not exactly the best ones to use in the first place. Gun game is in my opinion only fun if it's a randomized list of weapons you unlock throughout the match that rotates through all weapons per match. And although I've seen people like Hidden Xperia suggest they should make the final weapon melee based, I do not agree at all with that, purely due to how Last Man Standing is a mode with limited lives. You'd end up seeing the people who should be winning the matches via lasting the longest alive dying because everyone else is shooting them across the map, since they haven't caught up to that point and likely won't. Also, back to the multiplayer side of things, I get why 343 is timid to allow people to queue up with friends in Last Man Standing specifically, but there's an easy fix: make a duos mode. That's literally all you guys need to do to avoid any teaming issues. As I was partially saying earlier, I do not mind the changes to King of the Hill in Halo Infinite, but I only don't mind them on Catalyst. On any other map, the changes just make the mode excruciatingly painful. The points take way too long to move, and the fact the starting zone is always in a choke point creates an insanely prolonged experience which just isn't at all fun. If you are going to have the zones move purely based on whether or not a team has or has not gained a point, then you cannot be placing the zones in these choke points unless you do it on maps like Catalyst, where it actually serves as a benefit rather than a hindrance to the mode, due to the bridge being such a versatile area in terms of depth. It takes far too long for zones to move when the zone is centered on basically every map but Catalyst. Now, this is where we start to get to the predominantly negative topics, and there are a lot of negatives to say the very least. I hate the narrative bollocks 343 3 are trying to cram into the multiplayer. Please stop it. It's entirely void of purpose and only takes even more development time away from what actually matters for Halo Infinite's multiplayer. We need more maps and more modes, not narrative events, which takes time away from things that actually matter. And apart from the new banished AI, there's nothing really of value added to the story for Halo Infinite. It's just kinda there, with no content to back it up. And if they are going to do this, I'd love to see some PvE modes surrounding it. Otherwise, to me at least, it seems entirely void of purpose. They seriously need to be purely focusing on getting Forge out the door right now. If they can get the community to make maps for them, then of course it will alleviate a significant amount of the struggle being created from 343 clearly being under poor management right now, and subsequently Halo Infinite currently being in development hell. And let's be honest, Halo Infinite's multiplayer would be made significantly better if they simply ditched the narrative aspects. All in all, it's made completely void of purpose simply due to the fact nothing even changes in the training area where these narrative aspects are meant to be seen. The removal of some of the most fun aspects in Halo Infinite's campaign have essentially killed a major section of Halo Infinite's fanbase, speedrunners. There's literally no reason to have patched out the fusion coil launch or the ability to fly the Pelican. These are merely fun bugs you have to go out of your way to do and will not impact any regular fans' enjoyment of Halo Infinite's campaign. In fairness to 343, they have said they'll be reverting the removal of the tank gun, but they've also said that they'll simply be looking into reverting the other changes made to campaign, because fusion coil launches somehow affect campaign co-op. I'm sorry, but I fail to see how that could possibly be the case, and a significant portion of this video would have been discussing the horrific decisions on the developers' parts in regards to removing jump locations, but they thankfully decided to revert these changes in the next patch. But I do have to ask, why was so much dev time wasted on removing things like this, which are literally the opposite of game breaking, when theater is completely broken and so are custom games? Why is dev time being taken away from the rest of the game in order to fix things that aren't even bugs? It makes absolutely no sense. I think it's safe to say one of the worst aspects of the new season is still the challenge system. If you guys at 343 are this insanely insistent on a challenge-based progression system, then at the very least separate event challenges from normal challenges and allow us to complete them side by side. When you force players to play modes they hate, like forcing me into playing Last Man Standing just to progress through the content I paid for, all it does is make me not want to play Halo Infinite. And I honest to God cannot help but wonder if this system is so poorly designed to push players into buying challenge swaps, something I am still entirely against. You should not be selling XP boosts and challenge swaps in the store. It's unacceptable, just like how the PC ports optimization is still unacceptable. After they've claimed to have reduced / fixed infinite load times and significantly improved stability, I have to say, they flat out lied. The PC port is even worse than it was in Season 1, which is truly impressive for all of the wrong reasons. What the Halo community refers to as anti-aim assist is still heavily prevalent, although in due fairness to 343, it has been significantly reduced in what I can only describe as a ghost patch, which is incredibly strange to me. That seems like something you'd want to promote considering how well known Halo Infinite is for poor keyboard and mouse input. For anyone wondering what anti-aim assist actually is, since it's just a generalized term within the Halo community for the numerous issues people have been experiencing on PC, then in short it's this strange aim resistance you commonly feel / experience when playing Halo Infinite with a mouse and keyboard on PC. Now this has been slightly improved with the ghost patch I mentioned earlier via 343, ever so slightly increasing bullet magnetism on, from what I can tell, all weapons, but the gun any PC player will almost instantly notice it is with the Mangler. Before you'd have to absolutely be pixel perfect to hit your shots with it. Now you can be slightly off, but aim resistance isn't the only thing causing quote unquote anti-aim assist. There's things like the memory leak issues and the overconsumption of VRAM. That is still an issue regardless of 343's claims in reducing those issues / fixing them. And these are leading to what I'm guessing is a noticeably large disconnect between Infinite servers and player input on PC. The poor optimization is why you can see numerous examples on YouTube and the Halo subreddit of people showing this anti-aim assist, where if you're using a keyboard and mouse, sometimes there will be a clear hitching when your reticle is hovering over a player. In the worst case scenarios I've experienced myself, as well as seen other others experience. When using the sniper, it can lead to being almost impossible at times to center your reticle on a player model. You'll end up stuck around the outskirts of said player model. The reason this is so inconsistently experienced on PC between player to player is due to the optimization. Even as someone with a computer significantly more powerful than any console, I consistently run into these problems, and it does seem to be worse the higher your frame rate is. The fact we are 6 months into the game and we're only just seeing very slight improvements to this problem, whilst, as far as I know, 343 hasn't even publicly acknowledged the existence of these issues, is flat out ridiculous. We shouldn't be seeing obvious ghost patching happening on a consistent basis. This is a significant problem and they need to be publicly talking about it, and publicly talking about how they're going to be fixing it. Not only that, but even in the first place, tons of people cannot even run Halo Infinite on PC because of the poor optimization, and Infinite load times having gotten worse after the patch that was meant to at the very least reduce the Infinite load times, has made Halo Infinite a genuinely excruciating rollercoaster of emotions as a PC player, even more so than what console players have had to deal with as well. Although I want to make it very clear, I am not saying 343 should get rid of aim assist. That would be insanely moronic. However, what they need to do is fix their PC port and give us the even playing field aim assist is meant to create via improving the optimization. These issues shouldn't be ignored because they're not in the slightest insignificant. And in this ghost patch, 343 has increased bullet magnetism for keyboard and mouse users, something which I can definitely say is a step in the right direction, although nowhere near enough to where we should be, especially considering the fact we're 6 months into the game. And it's why I've been left with such hopelessly mixed feelings about Season 2. On one hand, you've got terrible decisions being reverted, but on the other hand, you've got them consistently questioning their own decisions, keeping some bad decisions as well, and it is abundantly clear that something inside 343 needs to change, because I don't think I've seen a studio with such poor management before. Frankly, if they don't get this sorted out, we're not going to have another Sea of Thieves situation on our hands, or a Destiny 2 situation on our hands. We're gonna have a game with such massive potential just go to waste, all because for some reason 343 is reluctant to give PC players just a solid port, or even the general population of Halo Infinite solid patches. Instead, we're getting these blatant lies about bettering PC performance and useless patches that have to be reverted because development time has been wasted on pointless stuff that wasn't even needed to be patched because they weren't bugs. It is one of the main reasons as to why this game is dying on PC. On top of this, I've had to go down to high settings to maintain a stable frame rate above 60 FPS in any game mode after Season 2, when I was able to run the game at a somewhat stable 80 FPS with ultra settings turned on, which was already downright pathetic performance before Season 2. I have a Ryzen 9 5900X and an RTX 3070. My PC is significantly more powerful than an Xbox Series X. There are zero reasons for me not to be able to hit 120 FPS when running ultra settings at the very least. And unlike many Halo channels that will wrongfully claim the severe decline in players for Halo Infinite on Steam is due to a lack of content, that isn't true. It's due to the severe issues I've just talked about. A huge amount of the PC market cannot even run the game because 343 cannot be asked to fix their supposed proprietary port for PC. You have had more than enough time to fix this. This should have all been resolved within the first 3 months, but I can partially understand why it hasn't been. Halo Infinite is at a point of no return right now. Either over the next few months, 343 manages to turn the game around, or it fades off and dies. The PC version is already seeing this early as it's the worst version of the game, and the Xbox version, where the most players are, is next. So they're focusing their efforts on supporting their larger consumer base. Is in a way understandable, but also just consolidates how awful their treatment of PC players has been so far. All in all, Season 2 has set the foundations for either another Destiny 2 situation or the death of Halo Infinite, and unfortunately I'm leaning far more towards the latter. The foundations laid here are signs we'll be seeing great things, but as someone playing on PC, I can't help but have a predominantly pessimistic view on the game. I do want to love all the content added, but there's so many small gripes which build up and accumulate to a massive problem overall that I think Forge is the only thing able to save Halo Infinite, as if 343 purely focuses on getting it out the door and then uses the player base to pump out more content, then the game could certainly be saved from death. So with all that being said, I will see you all in the next video, and please do not forget to do all the things you YouTubers love to beg you to do, aka like, comment and subscribe, so that I will see you all in the next video.